Well, good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure on behalf of Hutchinson Community College and the Dillon Lecture Series to welcome Dayton Moore to be the first speaker of our 2017 Lecture Series, the 36th year of the Dillon Lecture Series. We're very pleased to have Dayton here, especially because a week from now he's most likely going to be in Surprise, Arizona, so he's spending some of his precious few last moments at home with us here today. So I'm going to turn it over to Dayton to give just a quick introduction on what he might touch on today with the lecture, and then we'll open it up for any questions.
Great.
So, Dayton, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. It really is. This has been on the calendar for over a year, and I've so much looked forward to it. As many of you may or may not know, I was born in Wichita, and my mother grew up in a little town in south central Kansas by the name of Coldwater. My father spent time in Andover, and then later his family located at Moline, Kansas, which is in the southeast corner. So I'm a Kansas kid, proud to be here, and just really looking forward to talk about our leadership journey once we came here to Kansas City, when most people that we all sought counsel with about coming here said, don't go, you can't win in Kansas City. You know, we were fortunate to have great support from the Glass family, who allowed us to plan and experience failure and learn from our failures, and certainly proud to be a part of a fan base and a community that's been exceptional in supporting us, and you know, so we're just really proud to be here and represent the Royals, the state of Kansas, and you know, our great fans throughout the Midwest, and now I'm proud to say throughout the country.
Questions?
I'm going to get right away to your signing of Cole Hammel the other day. Obviously, that was not easy in the wake of everything that has happened over the last 2 weeks. Talk about that signing.
You know, we didn't anticipate having to sign a starting pitcher. We had worked this off season to create some flexibility in our payroll, to do some things as we went deeper into free agency, and perhaps free us up for some flexibility during the year, as we knew we were going to have to continue to try to improve our team. Every organization does throughout the year. You're always massaging your roster in a way to match up better, to improve on your weaknesses, your deficiencies. Obviously, the unfortunate passing of Yordano, a tragedy, of course, and so therefore we had to fill a rotation spot. No flexibility in the payroll to do that. The Glass family said, do what you need to do to sign a pitcher. Jason Hammel had been on the market, and you know, so we were able to execute that deal, and again, just once again proving the great support of the Glass family, and allow us to go above and beyond our means to put a good product on the field. But he'll fit in our rotation, obviously. Was a 15-game winner last year for the Chicago Cubs, had an ERA under 4. He's proven that he can beat some of the best teams in baseball. We're hopeful that he can give us 180 to 200 innings and help stabilize our rotation.
Is it easier to get those free agents with looking at when you started in 2006 to today? I mean, do they give you those talks more easily because of the success you had?
No doubt, Amy. I mean, players, you're dealing with the best competitors in the world, and they want to win. That's first and foremost, and people talk about all the time about, you know, the money luring the player, and of course their finances are a part of it, but these guys want to win. They want to be a part of winning environments. They want to win championships. That's how they're wired. That's why they've reached, you know, their ceiling as players. And of course, it helps that we've won. I like to think that our environment has a lot to do with that. We're very pro-family. Players understand that. They appreciate that. And you know, we've earned that reputation. And again, then always, you know, it comes down to finances at the end a lot of times, especially when you're competing with other organizations of like qualities. And you know, again, we're fortunate that, you know, our payroll, Amy, I think when we first came here was in the 30 million range. maybe 50. Then it got up to about 50 or so. When we went to the World Series in 2014, we had a payroll of $96 million, which was substantially less than what San Francisco had at the time. And then the following year, we jumped up significantly into the 130s. It paid off for us. We went 5 games in the World Series. Ultimately, we won. Last year, we went up to 140, won 81 games, and we lost quite a bit of money. Therefore, as I said, we had to kind of readdress some things. But we've had opportunity to sign players based on, as I said before, I believe our environment, our culture, the fact that we believe that we can win, the belief and the understanding throughout the baseball world that Kansas City is a great place to play. The fans show up, the environment is strong, and so we're fortunate in that sense. The players want to come play in Kansas City.
I'm going to follow up on that because you have a delicate balance of that formula, of a winning formula with the nucleus of the players that you have that have been together, Hosmer and Moustakas, and that group that has been together now for several years and has had that success. The balance of that with knowing that here in the next season or two, you're going to have to try to find a way to either retain them or replace them.
No doubt, and that's part of the reason we moved forward and made a move and traded Wade Davis to get back Jorge Soler, a player we control for the next 4 years. Gerard Dyson for Nate Carnes, a pitcher that we control for the next 4 years. Young players are so crucial for the success of your baseball team, especially in our market, which is one of the smallest markets in sports. We realize that we're never going to be able to keep all of our star players to long-term contracts, but we've been fortunate in the past to be able to do that. The first we demonstrated was Zach Greinke and Joakim Soria, and signed all those players before they were all-stars and Cy Young Award winners. We were aggressive in signing Salvador Perez to a long-term contract, Alcides Escobar. Obviously, we signed Alex Gordon to 2 long-term contracts now. So Danny Duffy, our most recent player that we feel is emerging into one of the top rotation pitchers in baseball, 28 years old, and signed him to a 5-year contract. And we got to look for opportunities to do that with others as well, keeping in mind that our ultimate success is going to be raising players through the farm system. That's why what we do in the draft, what we do internationally is so important to our success. And we're never going to deviate from that. We don't want to have too many of our players signed to long-term contracts, truthfully, because it hurts your flexibility going forward. That's why we got to keep graduating players, to the major leagues.
Well, talking Danny Duffy, I heard an interview where he said that he was part of the system as a teenager and played catch with Salvador Perez as an 18 or 19-year-old. And do you have any kids now in the system that you could see being the next Danny Duffy or the next Salvador or the next Ventura that were part of the system?
We hope so. I mean, obviously 2 very special players, special talents. And the interesting thing about both of those players that you mentioned, when Salvador Perez was coming through the minor leagues, everybody viewed him as somebody who could catch and throw, very similar maybe to a young Yadier Molina. Nobody ever thought he would really hit with much production. Now he's the all-time home run leader of any catcher in Royals history. He's a 4-time All-Star and Gold Glove winner, and we all know that. But what's separated him is just his passion to play, his passion to win, his personality to care and respect his teammates. And then Danny Duffy was a player that walked away from the game. And a lot of people didn't think he would ever play again. I mean, he was just burnt out on baseball. He was truly just a left-handed pitcher with a good arm, not much of a breaking ball, had some feel for a changeup, but not anybody that anybody ever asked for in trades or wanted to acquire. And those 2 players, they believed in themselves and end up, being pretty good players, obviously. So there's a lot of players like that in our organization, in our system. They haven't necessarily separated themselves yet. They will. This time last year, Matt Strom was a player who's a part of the Kansas junior college system. and he wasn't anybody that was on our radar, and he emerged to be, one of our more dominant pitchers the second half of the season. So there's several talents like that in our system. That's the beauty of baseball. Players who can focus, who can commit, who can make good choices off the field, on the field, end up reaching their ceiling. And those two players that you mentioned made enough good choices, learned from their mistakes, and emerged to be, pretty good players. I dance around that pretty good.
You can use a small market team, and when you start making runs like you have the last couple of years, the importance of trying to keep your farm system intact too, because during those 2 years it was one of the best farm systems as far as being rated. How's it standing now after it obviously got beat up a little bit?
We graduated, when we built this team, I mean, it was viewed I think in the off-season of 2010 is the best farm system in baseball. Some people said maybe the best farm system in the history of baseball. I don't know if that's obviously true. I don't know how they can necessarily evaluate that, but that was some of the things that was said and written. Obviously, that core group graduated the major leagues. They were fortunate to play in back-to-back World Series, win a championship in 15. We traded several players in our farm system, whether it be Will Myers, Brandon Finnegan, Sean Minaya, all first-round type talents to get back players to help us continue to win. We have to use our farm system. We have to utilize it in a way to bring us back talent, to supplement. That's part of who we are. Again, we don't make excuses for our market, but we have to use our farm system as currency. We have to be able to supplement our major league team, obviously with players through our system, but through trades as well. So if you ask me to evaluate our farm system, I would say it's very similar as it was back in 2008, maybe 2009. We've got enough quality, high-end talent, not as much depth as we're going to need to be. I mean, we've got work to do. Of course, we've been picking later in the draft. That's a difference. Under the new CBA, the rules are vastly different with how we can acquire talent. There's limitations on how much money you can spend internationally now. So there's some challenges. Again, we've got to look for solutions. We can't make excuses. And at the end of the day, nobody really cares anyway. I mean, you got to produce a good product on the field. So that's what we have to be able to do. So,
thank you.
I know Sherholtz was a mentor. Is there any philosophies you brought with you that you're still using today? Or?
Sure. John was always very good about hiring good people, supporting them, allowing them to do their jobs. He utilized his position to validate the judgment of others and demand excellence. John certainly was and is a tremendous leader. Understands players, understands the game. There's definitely a John Sherholtz model of leadership. I hope I fit in to that model as well. So, of course, I mean, that's, John obviously was with Kansas City. He was a general manager here in 1985 when they won a world championship, went on to Atlanta. And John really, in my mind, taught the Braves how to win. There was a lot of talent in the system at that time. They had just hired Bobby Cox to go, or reassigned Bobby to go back on the field, manage the team. Bobby was the GM, and so there was a lot of really good things in place, but John created that structure and that environment that allowed him to go on and win 14 division titles and one World Series championship in 1995.
When you look at this team now, compared to 86, 87, after the passing of Ewing Kauffman, and the team was basically left for dead almost. When you see how it is finally, because it was a long road and a pretty miserable one at times, and you being from Kansas, you obviously very familiar with all of that. Talk about your feelings now as the team has progressed from
the great thing
Left
about
4 Dead to now.
the great thing about that was when we came to Kansas City, we'd lost a generation of fans. It was quite obvious that was simply the state of the team, the organization. You'd watch kids come into the ballpark, and the only time they'd ever come to the games when we played Boston or New York or a high-profile winning team. Their parents and their grandparents would have on Royals gear, and then their kids or their grandkids would have on Red Sox or Yankees gear, and we'd lost a generation. So the fact that we were able to win, we've grown and reinvigorated a new generation of fans where they can connect with the players. Of course, our players do an excellent job of connecting with the fans. They've been raised within the system to appreciate that and understand the history of the organization, where we once were, and a lot of credit goes to them, our coaches and our scouts, who have found the right players, instilled in them the importance of what we were, a model organization back during that period of time that you mentioned, and once again accepting the challenge to be a model organization once again. So it's a fun time. It's also a time where we realize that we got to continue to fight for that culture and continue to earn the respect of our fans, and keep competing for their attention and for the team.
I know you were at Garden City. Is there any coaches, or even just growing up, that was a role model too, that kind of led you the
Well,
direction?
I played for Joe Slobko out there, who was just inducted into the Kansas Baseball Hall of Fame, and I enjoyed my time in Garden City a great deal. Outstanding teammates, and I loved playing for Coach Slobko. He demanded excellence. He was an unbelievable competitor, and so I learned a great deal from him, and got an opportunity to continue to play and develop as a baseball player and develop as a person. And Kathy Isaac, who was one of my teachers out there, I'm still close friends with her today. Her and her husband Russ come out to spring training, so it was a special period of time for me, and a time of growth in my life.
You still have family in Coldwater?
No, we don't. Everybody's since moved on. My parents are actually buried in that town, so I get back there at least once a year. So
Pretty area.
mm-hmm. Wide open.
Yeah.
I like it. I enjoy it. So
Dayton Commissioner Manfred has expressed some concern about the pace of games,
Yeah.
and talked about maybe a pitch count or a pitch clock,
sure.
limiting trips to the mound. Do you get feedback from Royals fans about?
I don't. I've never been at the ballpark and said the game's too long. I mean, I've always enjoyed. In fact, when I was a kid, I used to root for extra innings, right? So, but I understand. Commissioner Manfred, who I think is doing an excellent job, and pace of game is very important to him. So it's important to us, and we've got to make sure that we're constantly accommodating our fans and our viewers. And I think a pitch clock is something you may see at some point in time. It's in the minor leagues. It's working well. They've talked about proposing that a pitcher, once they come into the game, has to finish an inning to limit the trips to the mound and the matchups. We'll see where all that goes. There's much better minds than mine that are studying this daily, and at the end of they'll make the right decision. I mean, I was not for interleague play. I was wrong about that. I was not for instant replay. I was wrong about that. So I'm usually more on the traditional sides of these things, and move slow and very conservative, and so there are, as I said, people are studying this that will ultimately make the right decision for the game and the fans.
It's probably not a fair question because there's so many variables that come with baseball that size up things for this year as you get ready for spring training.
Well, the most important thing for every team, especially ours, stay healthy. If you stay healthy, you'll probably have a pretty good year, and you'll be in some type of playoff race. course, I feel like that our players will eventually, get through the loss of Yordano. That'll be a challenge for them. There'll be a reminder, obviously, when we get back, when we return to Arizona and spring training begins. That'll be a challenge, a hurdle that we'll have to overcome. A lot of our players, as you mentioned, they're in their final year of their contract. Will that motivate them in a way that they produce and put themselves in a position to be highly sought after free agents? Or will it motivate them? They'll be motivated, but will they put too much pressure on themselves, try to do too much? Will it end up stalling their production? I don't know, but we'll see. I trust our players. I believe greatly in this group, and I'm confident that we've got another run in us this year. It's going to be an exciting year around the ballpark, and there'll be a player or two, Amy, that emerge, as I said, that we weren't even considering, and that's the beauty of baseball. So there'll be a lot of different storylines in 2017, and hopefully we're back in the playoffs competing for another world championship.
We've got time for one or two more if anybody's got one.
Dayton, when did you really notice the run was about to begin? A lot of people will point to the end of the 13 season with Maxwell's walk-off grand slam on closing day. When did you see it actually taking effect and to make that run?
No doubt the second half of 2013. If you recall that year, May was a disaster for us. There was a lot of people that felt that if it continued, that Ned Yost and myself probably shouldn't be, have the privilege to continue in our current positions. So it was a tough time. But then the second half, all of a sudden, our talented players began to produce consistently. And we had an 86-win season. I felt that we were going to begin to win. I didn't know we'd win championships, but I knew that we were in a position that we were going to be a strong, consistent, performing baseball team at that point in time, assuming we stayed healthy.
I heard you watched the '85 World Series from I-70. Is that?
We did. Actually, a buddy of mine, Dave Larson, we were both teammates at Garden City. We both graduated high school in Illinois, and we happened to be returning to Garden City from the Quad Cities. And, you go right through, I-70 right there through Kansas City. Dave was a Royals fan, but he was more of a Cubs fan. I was a Royals fan. And so we just stopped to kind of enjoy the sights of Game 7, just to be around the ballpark. We couldn't afford a ticket, scalpers. I think it was about $150, and then but we noticed that there was a lot of people that were congregating off I-70, and people up there with small portable battery-operated television sets. People were grilling out, and we decided, heck, let's join in. And so you could see everything except Lonnie Smith in left field at the time. Of course, the reconfiguration of Kauffman Stadium doesn't allow you to do that anymore. But they let us, and there was cars lined up on the side of the road, and different times, and but it was fun. So.
Thank you all for joining us this morning for this. We're going to let Dayton get ready and head over to the sports arena and invite everyone to join us there for the lecture. So, Dayton, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, guys.